Hello students, welcome to Social Studies class. In our today's class, we are going to study about motions of the earth. Chapter 4, Motions of the earth. The earth is the third planet to sun. The earth is the only planet where the life exists. Right? Children, you might be knowing that Earth is only the planet where there is life existence. Here in this planets, we can see a number of living things. We see that there is flora and fauna, that means plants, animals, birds, human beings, and lot many creatures. So life is only possible on Earth. Earth is the only planet which has the condition, the atmosphere suitable for the existence. Right? We have the light, the heat, the atmosphere, the air in which we have oxygen, okay, a balance of various gases in the air, right? So Earth is the only planet where life exists. Okay, so as you know that the Earth revolves and rotates, right? You know that Earth has two kinds of motions. Motions means movements. Students, you know that the Earth has two kinds of motions, rotation and revolution. The Earth revolves around the Sun in a fixed path. Okay, in a fixed path means the same path, right? And that path is also known as orbit. ठीक है, अपना प्लैनेट अर्थ है वो सन के अराउंड रिवॉल्व करता है एक फिक्स्ड पाथ में, एक फिक्स्ड उसका वे है, उसी वे में वो रिवॉल्व करता है एंड दैट is the orbit of the earth. The orbit of the earth can be thought of lying on an imaginary surface or plane called its orbital plane. Now the earth is revolving around the same orbit. ठीक है, उसी रास्ते पे अर्थ सन के आजू बाजू revolve कर रहा है, right? So it revolves, it is thought of that there is an imaginary line, there is an imaginary path, okay, the surface or plane, and that plane, that surface is known as orbital plane. The earth also rotates or spins around its axis. Children, in the previous chapters of geography, you might have understood the meaning of axis. Okay, axis पे वो rotate होता है. Rotate means to rotate on the same place, on the same axis, right? The axis is the imaginary line joining the North Pole and the South Pole. Okay, it is an imaginary line जो North Pole से South Pole तक की line होती है, but that is an imaginary line. Okay, and that is through the center of the earth. We have to think that that imaginary line is through the center of the earth. From North Pole means from up to down. Okay. This axis makes an angle of 23.5 degree with the perpendicular to the plane of the earth's orbit. It makes 23.5 degree angle, okay, which is perpendicular to the plane of the earth's orbit. In other words, किसी और शब्द में हमें इसे कहना हो, in other words, the earth's axis makes an angle of 66.5 degree. अगर कई और शब्द में बोले तो अर्थ की एक्सिस है वो 66.5 डिग्री एंगल फॉर्म करते हैं, राइट, विथ ऑर्बिटल प्लेन. दिस मीन्स that the earth is always inclined to one side while it revolves. इसका मतलब अर्थ है वो एक बाजू पे थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा झुकाव होता है अर्थ का, ठीक है. दैट इज ऑलवेज इंक्लाइंड टू वन साइड वाइल इट रिवॉल्व्स. एक साइड पे थोड़ा सा झुकाव होता है, झुका हुआ होता है, राइट. स्लाइटली टिल्टेड, okay, inclined, and due to this different parts of the pole experiences the different atmosphere, the different season. Okay, so here in the figure 4.1, ओके, इट इज़ द डायग्राम ऑफ अर्थ का डायग्राम दिया है जिसमें आपको दिखाया है कि वो स्लाइटली टिल्टेड है और ये जो है वो साउथ पोल है, ये नॉर्थ पोल है, राइट. दिस इज नॉर्थ पोल एंड दिस इज साउथ पोल. ओके, द पोल, द एक्सिस, ये अर्थ की एक्सिस है, राइट. दिस इज द एक्सिस ऑफ द earth which is slightly tilted. It is not straight. Earth is not divided straight, ठीक है. अर्थ एक्चुअली इट इज़ नॉट डिवाइडेड, बट जो हमारी इमेजिनरी लाइन है क्योंकि वो पूरा स्पेरिकल शेप का है, टिल्टेड है, ठीक है. और द शेप ऑफ अर्थ इज स्पेरिकल एंड इट इज tilted. It is not exactly the straight like a stationary object. It is tilted and it is in motion. So we can say that this is the axis, right? I have highlighted the axis. Okay, this is the axis which forms 23.5 degree, or in the other words you can say it forms 66.5 degree on the orbital plane, ठीक है, जिसके वजह से 66.5 डिग्री ऑर्बिटल प्लेन पे एंगल फॉर्म होता है. यू कैन सी द एंगल, सी, राइट. एंड इफ इट वुड बी स्ट्रेट it would be like this, but it is not straight, right? So it is forming 66.5 degree angle, right? So these are all the parts of earth. This is Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, and these are frigid zones. Okay, so the inclination of Earth's axis and the plane of Earth's orbit. यहाँ पे आपको एक्सिस दिखाया है, inclination of the axis, the angle forming on the orbital plane. Okay, the Earth rotates. Rotates means to move on axis. Okay, so when the earth rotates, it causes day and night, and when it revolves around the sun, this tilt of the earth's axis is called the inclination of earth's axis. Okay, now we will study rotation. What is rotation? Okay, when earth moves on its own एक्सिस, ठीक है, वो सिर्फ रोटेट हो रहा है, सो दैट मोशन इज कॉल्ड रोटेशन. नाउ ड्यू टू रोटेशन we experience day and night. You know that earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. earth 24 hours टाइम लेता है एक रोटेशन कंप्लीट करने में, एक स्पिन होने में, राइट. सो वो 24 आवर्स जो है दैट इज आवर वन डे. 24 hours is equal to 1 day, and it moves from west to east direction. Okay, because the sun moves because the earth moves from west to east direction, we observe that sun rises in the east, right. Rotation causes day and night to follow each other in regular pattern. अभी अर्थ रोटेट कर रहा है, राइट, अर्थ इज रोटेटिंग. सो व्हेन द अर्थ इज रोटेटिंग, द पार्ट विच रिसीव्स द sunlight will have day, and the part which does not receives the sunlight will experience night. And when the part चेंजेस, जब रोटेट हो रहा है तब वो पार्ट चेंज हो रहा है. सो हमें जो 12 आवर्स है, 10 आवर्स है, वो हमें सनलाइट मिलती है. ओके, एंड बाकी के जो आवर्स है आफ्टर इवनिंग, प्रॉबेबली फ्रॉम इवनिंग टू नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग, सो दैट इज आवर नाइट. एंड so we can say that rotation causes day and night to follow each other. So after day again night will come, again night, after night day will happen, day will come. So this process is happening due to rotation. एक रोटेशन कंप्लीट करने में 24 आवर्स लगते हैं, राइट. लेट अस सी हाउ this happens. Okay, look at this figure 4.2. You will see that half of the earth which faces the sun is lighted. Okay, you can see the sun rays. Sun, suppose this is sun. Okay, and sun rays are, these are sun rays. Okay, you can see in this image. Okay, sun rays are falling on half of the part, not on full part. So the part which receives the sunlight, which receives the sun rays, have day. उनको क्या, उनके लिए क्या होगा, day. एंड द पार्ट विच इज़ नॉट रिसीविंग, उनके लिए क्या होगा, नाइट, राइट. अभी अर्थ है उस वो रोटेट हो गया, इसीलिए नाइट वाला पार्ट इस साइड आया, तो उनके लिए अभी डे है, और डे वाला जो पार्ट है वो यहाँ गया, सो उनके लिए अभी नाइट है. ओके, अर्थ इज मूविंग, इट इज स्पिनिंग, ठीक है. तो द हाफ पार्ट विल रिसीव द डे and half will receive the night. फिर जब इस पार्ट के लिए नाइट होगी, ठीक है, तब इस पार्ट के लिए डे हो जाएगा. ओके, सो The circle which divides the earth into a light half and dark half is called the circle of illumination. So this is the circle of illumination. ये सर्कल क्या है? illumination का सर्कल है. ठीक है. Because this divides the earth into लाइटेड एंड डार्क पार्ट. ये दो हाफ हाफ अर्थ है. हाफ अर्थ को के लिए पहले डे होगा, देन जब उनके फर्स्ट हाफ के लिए जब नाइट होगी तब सेकेंड पार्ट के लिए डे होगा, और जब सेकेंड पार्ट के लिए नाइट होगी तब फर्स्ट पार्ट के लिए डे होगा. ओके, एंड दिस इज द सर्कल ऑफ इल्यूमिनेशन. ओके, as the earth moves from west to east, the dark half gradually faces the sun while the lighted half turns away from it. This is how day follows night. Can you guess what would have happened if the earth did not rotate? Because it is rotating, okay, that's why we are experiencing the sunrise, the sunset, night. Okay, what would happen if the earth would be a stationary object or it would not rotate? तो हमें डे और नाइट नहीं एक्सपीरियंस करने को मिलता. और अगर डे एंड नाइट नहीं होता तो देयर वुड नॉट बी अ बैलेंस इन the atmosphere, there would not be the balance in the temperature, right? So we need day and night. Now look at figure 4.3. In this figure you can see that this is the circle of Amba. Right, AMBHA, Amba. Circle of Amba divides the earth into two equal parts. ये सर्कल भी टू इक्वल पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कर रहा है. राइट, वन एक्सपीरियंसिंग डे एंड अदर नाइट. तो इस पार्ट में क्या है? डे, और इस पार्ट में नाइट. राइट, दिस इज हैविंग मिड डे, मीन्स एकदम बीच. हम बोलते हैं ना 11, 12, 1 जो मिड डे होता है. ओके, 12 से आई थिंक सो 1 or 2 o'clock till 2 o'clock, that is the mid day, and this is experiencing the midnight, means from 12 to 1 or 2. So this is the circle of Amba which divides the earth into two parts, one experiencing the day and another experiencing the night. Now let us follow and place P on the equator while the earth rotates from west to east. अभी यहाँ पर हमने लिख दिया P. As the place moves towards the sunlight, it will reach a point close to M. Now it is rotating, right? So it will reach till the point M. Okay, it will move where it will get some diffuse light. फिर उसे लाइट तो मिलेगी पर एकदम से अच्छी बहुत ज़्यादा लाइट नहीं मिलेगी, थोड़ी सी रोशनी मिलेगी. दिस पार्ट ऑफ द डे when the sun is not visible and yet there is some light. ये जो पार्ट है वो ऐसा पार्ट में एंटर कर रहा है, ये जो रीजन है कि जिसमें आपको लाइट मिलेगी बट सनराइज अभी तक नहीं हुआ है. मीन्स द अर्ली मॉर्निंग, राउंड अबाउट हम बोल सकते हैं 6 बजे 7 बजे. राइट, सो द sunrise is going to happen. It will reach a point close to M where it will get some diffused light. This part of the day when sun is not visible and yet there is light. जब सन नहीं आया है पर लाइट आई है, and this is known as dawn. Okay, early morning, round about 5-6, that is known as dawn. As the P moves further, जैसे ही अभी P M से भी ज़्यादा आगे बढ़ेगा तो धीरे धीरे क्या हो जाएगा, सनराइज हो जाएगा. इट रिसीव्स द डायरेक्ट रेज ऑफ द सन फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. दिस इज द टाइम ऑफ सनराइज. फिर क्या हो जाएगा, सनराइज होगा. ओके, सनराइज होगा, फिर दिन चढ़ेगा पूरा. When the sun appears to come into the side, जब सन की लाइट उस पे पड़ेगी इस पार्ट पे, the when the place this reaches the place point T, जब ये T तक पहुंचेगा, ठीक है, जब ये T तक पहुंचेगा उस टाइम पे यहाँ पर दिन हो जाएगा. द सन शाइन्स ओवरहेड, यानी कि मिड डे हो जाएगा. राउंड अबाउट 12 o'clock to 12:30 to 1:32 o'clock. At this time it is noon or midday at a place. After midday, yani after 2 to 3 o'clock, the place begins to turn away from. Thus we see that days and nights are unequal because of the earth's axis is tilted. Because the earth's axis is not straight, the hours of day and night are not equal during the whole year and in the whole every region. Okay, places in northern hemisphere have longer nights and shorter days. Places near the north pole have darkness and they don't have light. In southern hemisphere the days will be longer and the nights will be shorter. So other consequences and effects of rotation and revolution we will see in the next lecture. Let's have a quick recap of movements of earth. That means let's understand rotation and revolution. Movements of the earth. There are two types of motions of earth. As you know that earth has two types of motions, namely rotation and revolution. Rotation is the movement of the earth on its axis. At point H, the sun appears to go away on the western horizon. This is the time of sunset. You will see that the sun is moving towards the west part and this time is the sunset time. However, the place receives the diffused light even after the sun is disappeared. We receive the diffused light for an hour, for an half an hour or something, and this time is called dusk और इसको dusk कहा जाता है. इवनिंग में after the sun is set, while the sun is setting, at that time we call the time as dusk. At point L, यानी जो साइड में है, at point L, it is the midnight of the place. Thus the sun as it is seen that when the earth rotates, the sun first appears in east and then appears to move towards the west. Revolution. The earth revolves around the sun in an elliptical path. Elliptical path means oval shaped path. Okay, ऑर्बिट है वो कैसी है, ओवल शेप की है. द अर्थ रिवॉल्व्स इन एन एलिप्टिकल ऑर्बिट एट द स्पीड ऑफ 29.8 किलोमीटर पर सेकेंड. एक सेकेंड में अर्थ इतने किलोमीटर रिवॉल्व होता है और एक घंटे में 1 लाख किलोमीटर्स. बट इवन एट दिस ग्रेट स्पीड द अर्थ टेक्स 365 days and 6 hours to complete one rotation. Even revolving at this great speed, it takes 365 days and 6 hours to complete one rotation. This period of time is called 1 year. Okay, when the earth completes one revolution, this time period is called 1 year. Now 1 year is equals to 365 days. But the earth takes 365 days plus 6 hours. Okay. So we considered 1 year is equals to 365 days. Leap year. What is leap year? Strictly speaking, 1 year is 365 days and 6 hours. But to make things simpler, हमारे लिए easy और simple बनाने के लिए we take 1 year to be 365 day. Okay, human beings ने 1 year को 365 days का बना दिया. Okay, मान लिया. So the extra 6 hours each year, ठीक है, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. So each years 6 years up to 4 years. The extra 6 hours add up to 24 hours or a day in a 4 years. 4 साल में 6 जो हमारा extra 6 hours each year add up to 24 hours. Means 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. If we add 6 hours 4 times, it makes 24 hours or 1 day in 4 years. So 4 बार अगर हम जो एक्स्ट्रा 6 है वो प्लस करते हैं तो we will get 24 hours and we will add this 1 day, this 24 hours in the leap year. So thus every 4th year we add an extra day. हर चौथे साल, okay, every 4th year we add an extra day to make a year. So that leap year has 366 days. Such a year is called leap year. In leap year, the month of February has 29 days. So February has 29 days instead of 28. Okay. Every time February has 28 days, but in leap year it has 29 days. You know that the Earth's axis is inclined to the Earth's orbital plane. So it is always slightly tilted in the same direction. We know it is inclined, it is bent, you know, we can't say bent, पर थोड़ा सा झुका हुआ है एक तरफ से और जिसके वजह से वो थोड़ा सा tilted है. And this makes each hemisphere tilt towards the sun during the half year and away from the sun during the other half, जिसके वजह से जो नॉर्थ और साउथ ओके दो हेमिस्फीयर है, नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर एंड सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर, सो बोथ will receive sun during half of the year and less sun during the other half. Between 21st March and 23rd September, the North Pole remains inclined towards the sun. Between 23 September to 23 March, the North Pole is tilted away. Means till from 21st March to 23rd September, Northern Hemisphere will get a good sun, okay, and from 23rd September to March, it will receive less. The proportion of the sun rays will not be direct, it will receive less sunlight. And the south pole is tilted towards the earth's tilt, and motion around the sun has the following consequences. Okay, because of the earth's tilt, thoda sa earth is not straight, okay, it is rotating in a, it is not straight, it is somewhat slight tilted, so थोड़ा सा त्रासा है, हम बोल सकते हैं कि थोड़ा सा त्रासा है, जिसकी वजह से जो सन के मोशन है उसमें उसका रिजल्ट क्या है वो हम पढ़ेंगे. पहला रिजल्ट है अनइक्वल डेज एंड नाइट. You may have noticed that in some season days are longer than night. हमने ये नोटिस किया होगा कि कोई सीज़न में डे ड्यूरेशन ज़्यादा होता है एंड कोई में नाइट ड्यूरेशन. ओके, वी से ना दैट द समर हैज़ लॉन्गर डेज एंड शॉर्टर नाइट्स एंड द विंटर हैज़ shorter days and longer nights. ठीक है, you may have noticed that in some season days are longer, in summer days are longer, nights are shorter, and in winter the nights are longer and days are shorter. Let us see why this happens. Northern hemisphere tilted towards the sun. Look at the figure 4.4. It shows the situation during that half of the year when northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun and the southern is away from the sun. Measure the part of the zones using a piece of thread. You will see that both the lighted part and the dark part are equal. ओके, पार्टीशन कैसा है, इक्वल है. अगर स्ट्रेट नहीं है फिर भी पार्टीशन इक्वल है. ओके, नाउ कंसिडर एनी पॉइंट ऑन इक्वेटोरियल रीजन. दिस पॉइंट will move as the earth rotates, and this point will move as the earth rotates. It completes one circle in 24 hours and will remain in sunlight and darkness for 12 hours each. Thus, the duration of day and night at a place on equator is equal. Okay, I have drawn the axis. Okay, I have drawn the axis which is passing from north to south. Now children, this part of northern hemisphere, you can see this part. Okay, this part of northern hemisphere is receiving some सन रेस. यहाँ पर सन रेस मिल रही है यहाँ पे आपको सनलाइट मिल रही है, ओके, बट यू विल ऑब्जर्व दैट द अदर हाफ वेयर इट इज़ नॉट गेटिंग, ठीक है, यहाँ पर यहाँ से नहीं मिल रही है. सो दिस पार्ट इज हैविंग नाइट, ओके, एंड इन पार्ट में ये जो हिस्सा है उसको भी नहीं मिल रही है. दिस इज द साउदर्न पार्ट. सो you will notice that northern part is getting the sunlight, so it has day, and southern part is also getting up to some limit, okay, यहाँ तक मिल रही है. But then northern part is getting, southern part is having night, यहाँ पर night है, okay, and जब ये move होगा तो ये जो है नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर वो 21 मार्च से 23 सितंबर में नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर में इक्वल डे और नाइट ऑब्जर्व होगा. यू कैन ऑल्सो वेरीफाई बाय मेजरिंग एज अबाउट दैट एज वी गो नॉर्थ द लेंथ ऑफ द लिट पार्ट ऑफ पैरेलल is more than the dark path. जैसे ही हम ऊपर की तरफ हम लोग जाएंगे, as we will move upwards, okay, the length of the lit part of parallel lines become longer, is more than the darker part. It means that days become longer and nights shorter from the equator towards the north pole during this half of the year. तब क्या होता है, नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर है, नॉर्दर्न पार्ट है, उसमें जैसे जैसे ये नॉर्दर्न पार्ट जो पूरा डार्क वाला पार्ट है रिवॉल्व करते करते जब आगे आएगा, ओके, राउंड अबाउट जो नॉर्दर्न पार्ट है वो आगे आएगा, उसके बाद क्या होगा कि यहाँ पर डेज लॉन्ग हो जाएंगे, नाइट शॉर्ट हो जाएगी. मीन्स यहाँ पर धीरे धीरे वी कैन ऑब्जर्व दैट समर विल बी स्टार्टिंग एंड a small region around the North Pole falls only in the lighted part. In other words, this area, the North Pole, has 6 months of daylight. A small region which receives the light, okay, during the longest period, in this area there will be sun daylight, okay, sunlight daylight for 6 months, okay. In the southern hemisphere, in the southern part, the situation is just the opposite. यहाँ पर अगर डे लाइट होगी नॉर्थ में तो साउथ में भी जो रीजन है, हमने देखा कि कुछ रीजन बिकॉज इट इज़ एक्सिस इज़ नॉट स्ट्रेट, कुछ रीजन है जो कवर होता है साउथ और नॉर्थ में. सपोज वहाँ पर क्या होगा, सिचुएशन ऑपोजिट होगी कि डार्क होगा और विंटर होगा, ओके, देयर वुड बी द डे, देयर वुड बी द नाइट टाइम ड्यूरिंग 6 months. In southern hemisphere the situation is opposite. In southern hemisphere the region will have night. As one moves from the equator to the south pole, days become shorter and nights become longer. जैसे जैसे हम जो है जो साउथ पोल की तरफ जाते हैं फ्रॉम द इक्वेटर, वैसे ही डेज शॉर्ट होते जाते हैं एंड नाइट्स हो जाते हैं लॉन्गर, मीन्स विंटर आती है. दिस एरिया अराउंड द साउथ पोल इज़ इन डार्कनेस. In other words, places near the South Pole have 6 months of darkness. So the regions of South Pole which are at the extreme end will get the night for 6 months. Thus, we see that days and nights are unequal, and because the Earth's axis is tilted. Because of Earth's axis is not straight, the days and nights are not equal. ठीक है, हर एक कंट्री या हर एक रीजन पे हर एक पार्ट के लिए डे और नाइट इक्वल नहीं है. Other we will study other things we will study in other consequences and the effects we will study in the next chapter and in the next lecture. Thus we see that days and nights are unequal because of the Earth's axis is tilted. Because the Earth's axis is not straight, the hours of day and night are not equal during the whole year and in the whole every region. Okay, places in northern hemisphere have longer nights and shorter days. Places near the north pole have darkness and they don't have light. In southern hemisphere the days will be longer and the nights will be shorter. So other consequences and effects of rotation and revolution we will see in the next lecture. Let's have a quick recap of movements of Earth. That means let's understand rotation and revolution. Movements of the Earth. There are two types of motions of Earth. As you know that Earth has two types of motions, namely rotation and revolution. Rotation is the movement of the Earth on its axis. The revolution is the movement of Earth around the Sun. The movement of Earth around the Sun in the fixed path or orbit is called revolution. Revolution causes seasons. The axis of Earth, which is an imaginary line, makes an angle of 66.5 degrees with its orbital plane. The plane formed by the orbit is known as orbital plane. The sun gives light and heat from the earth receives the heat and light from the sun. Due to the spherical shape of the earth, only half of it gets light from the sun at a time. So the part which receives the light is experiencing the day. The portion facing the sun experiences day, and the other half which does not receive the light has night. The circle that divides the day from night on the globe is called circle of illumination. This circle does not coincide with the axis, means it does not collides, it does not intersects with the axis. Period of rotation. The period of rotation is known as the Earth day. Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. This is the daily rotation. Okay, what would happen if Earth did not rotate? The portion of Earth facing the Sun would always experience day and thus bring continuous warmth. The other half would remain in darkness and freezing cold all the time. Life would not be possible in such extreme condition. Because of day and night, we feel moderate temperature. Okay, children, bye. Take care. Hope you understood the motions of the earth.